By the early 17th century, Greenland had re-entered the consciousness of European powers. Tales of a frozen land, once home to mysterious Norse settlements, circulated among merchants, explorers, and whalers. Dutch, Basque, and English ships began daring the treacherous Arctic waters, seeking whales, seals, and other lucrative resources. Their journals describe a land that seemed both hostile and alluring, jagged icebergs drifting silently in frigid waters, fjords cutting deep into granite cliffs and small, resilient communities of Thule Inuit navigating this frozen expanse with astonishing skill. Whalers were among the first Europeans to establish semi-permanent presences along Greenland's coasts. Their ships, reinforced for icy conditions, carried men intent on profit and survival. These expeditions were perilous. Storms could trap crews, ice floes crushed ships, and the Arctic cold was merciless. Yet, despite the dangers, whalers mapped new fjords, recorded the movements of marine mammals, and often encountered Inuit communities along the way. These encounters ranged from trade to cautious observation, as the Thule assessed the intentions and capabilities of these newcomers. Missionaries soon followed, primarily from Denmark-Norway, with the dual mission of conversion and colonization. In 1721, the Danish-Norwegian missionary Hans Egede arrived on the southwestern coast of Greenland. Marking the beginning of formal European settlement, he documented the Inuit people meticulously, noting their hunting techniques, social structures, and seasonal patterns. He marveled at their ability to survive months of darkness and bitter cold, often reflecting on how Europeans might learn from their intimate understanding of the land. Egede's journals also describe Norse ruins, remnants of churches, and abandoned farmsteads. The missionaries sought to connect the dots between the Norse past and the contemporary Inuit presence. Did the Inuit descend from the Norse, as some speculated? Or were they a distinct people who had simply inherited the land the Norse could not hold? Modern archaeology confirms that the Thule were culturally and genetically distinct from the Norse. Yet their adaptation strategies incorporating tools and knowledge from abandoned Norse settlements illustrate a continuity of human ingenuity across cultures. Trade soon became a defining feature of Inuit-European interaction. The Thule exchanged furs, ivory, and marine products for iron tools, textiles, and other European goods. Metal knives replaced bone implements. Copper kettles held water more efficiently than carved wooden containers. And fabric provided insulation that supplemented traditional furs. Yet the Thule maintained their core survival strategies. Hunting, navigation, and seasonal migrations remained rooted in centuries of experience and knowledge. European settlement efforts faced enormous challenges. Harsh winters, unpredictable ice conditions, and isolation tested even the most prepared colonists. Unlike the Thule, Europeans struggled to integrate fully with the environment. Missions and trading posts often relied heavily on Inuit knowledge and labor, highlighting the stark contrast between adaptation and imposition. In many ways, European survival in Greenland depended on understanding and respecting Inuit expertise, a lesson long embedded in the Arctic landscape. European diaries reveal remarkable stories of cooperation and cultural exchange. Inuit families taught settlers how to hunt effectively, track animals, and navigate ice-laden waters. Children learned European languages and skills, while elders shared oral traditions about the land, the animals, and even stories of Norse ruins. This exchange was not uniform. Misunderstandings, cultural clashes, and occasional conflicts occurred, but it illustrates the dynamic nature of human adaptation and the blending of knowledge systems across cultures. Archaeological excavations from this period provide further insight. Artifacts reveal a fusion of European and Inuit technologies, iron tools alongside traditional harpoons, ceramics alongside carved bone implements. Settlement patterns indicate seasonal mobility, with some Europeans choosing permanent posts, while Inuit communities moved according to hunting and environmental cycles. Ice cores and dendrochronology show how climate variations influence both groups. Harsh winters tested European endurance, while the Thule adjusted strategies seamlessly, reflecting centuries of environmental learning. The arrival of European explorers also sparked renewed interest in Greenland's Norse past. Scholars and cartographers documented the remains of churches, farmsteads, and stone walls, attempting to reconstruct the lives of the vanished settlers. These ruins provided clues about architecture, diet, and social organization, yet left many questions unanswered. Did climate alone cause their disappearance? Did isolation, famine, or conflict contribute? Modern research combining archaeology, DNA analysis, and environmental data is gradually unraveling these mysteries, revealing a complex interplay of human adaptation, environmental change, and cultural resilience. By the 18th and 19th centuries, Greenland had become a laboratory for understanding human survival in extreme environments. The Thule Inuit remained at the center of this narrative, exemplifying adaptability, resilience, and cultural continuity. European settlers, missionaries, and traders increasingly relied on Inuit expertise, highlighting that mastery of the environment was not determined by ambition or technology alone, but by knowledge, observation, and respect for natural rhythms. Even as modernity approached, Greenland's layered history continued to unfold. Genetic studies reveal connections between ancient Saqqaq and Dorset populations, the Norse settlers, and the Thule Inuit, showing a tapestry of migration, adaptation, and cultural inheritance. Archaeological sites from small hunting camps to abandoned Norse farmsteads preserve lessons in survival, ingenuity, and the interplay between humans and their environment. Greenland's story during this transitional period illustrates profound lessons for all of humanity, that adaptability outweighs rigidity, that knowledge is cumulative, and that survival in extreme environments requires observation, intelligence, and collaboration. The Thule mastered these principles, the Norse struggled against them. Europeans eventually learned them anew. At Thugilan Art Studio, we celebrate this intricate narrative, tracing the threads of human resilience from the frozen past to the present. From Saqqaq hunters to Thule masters, from vanished Norse settlements to European explorers, Greenland's history offers insights into adaptation, endurance, and the human spirit. If you're captivated by these Arctic tales, like this video, subscribe, and tap the bell icon to continue exploring lost civilizations, extreme environments, and the untold stories of human ingenuity. As the Arctic sun rises over Greenland's frozen fjords, life unfolds in a rhythm dictated by centuries of observation and adaptation. Among the Thule Inuit, daily existence is a symphony of survival, where every movement, every decision, and every tradition reflects an intimate understanding of the harsh, yet bountiful, Arctic environment. Imagine a family preparing for a hunting expedition. Men and women carefully inspect kayaks and sleds, repairing any damage from the previous season. Harpoons are sharpened, lines prepared, and dogs harnessed for the long journey across ice and snow. The Thule approach hunting not as a simple task, but as an intricate dance with nature, reading the wind, observing the movements of sea ice, and anticipating the paths of seals, walruses, and whales. Food preservation is a cornerstone of survival. Meat is dried, smoked, or stored in ice cellars, ensuring that even during the darkest months, families have sustenance. Fish are carefully cleaned and dried on racks above the snow, while blubber provides not only nourishment but fuel for lamps to warm their semi-subterranean homes. Children assist in these tasks, learning the skills and techniques that will sustain them throughout their lives. Knowledge is transmitted orally, through observation, and by active participation in daily routines. The Thule are highly mobile, adjusting their settlements seasonally to follow the movements of wildlife. Summer brings hunting along coastal waters and open tundra. Families travel to rich fishing grounds, establish temporary camps, and engage in community activities. Children play games that double as training exercises, learning, tracking, navigation, and survival skills while engaging with their peers. Winter, by contrast, demands different strategies. Houses are insulated and reinforced, food caches are secured, and hunting moves to frozen fjords, where ice conditions dictate access to marine mammals. Families coordinate to ensure that no one is left isolated or without resources. Rituals and ceremonies mark transitions: the first seal caught in autumn, the return of migrating whales, or the celebration of midwinter's shortest day. These practices intertwine survival with culture, imbuing everyday life with meaning and continuity. Amidst this thriving culture, the remnants of Norse settlements loom silently across Greenland's landscape. Stone foundations, abandoned churches, and scattered farmsteads speak of a society that once sought permanence in this frozen land. Archaeologists examining these ruins discover iron tools, timber fragments, and domestic items, all indicating a people attempting to impose European agricultural and architectural practices in an environment unsuited to them. Analysis reveals the Norse struggled with livestock that could not endure the harsh winters, crops that failed repeatedly, and isolation that cut them off from necessary supplies. Evidence of malnutrition in both humans and animals, combined with climate data from ice cores showing colder than average temperatures, paints a picture of gradual decline. Yet, despite their failure, the Norse left behind tools and structures that the Thule would later incorporate, demonstrating a subtle continuity of human ingenuity. European explorers of the 17th and 18th centuries were fascinated by these ruins. Missionary Hans Egede and his contemporaries documented them, noting the contrast between the decayed Norse structures and the vibrant, adaptive communities of the Thule. Maps began to depict the Greenland coast with greater accuracy, marking both abandoned settlements and active Inuit villages. Observers marveled at the ingenuity of a people who could thrive where others had vanished. Trade and cultural interaction between the Thule and Europeans became increasingly significant. Metal tools, textiles, and provisions flowed from European settlers to Inuit families. In exchange, furs, ivory, and knowledge of the land and sea were shared. The Thule remained selective in their adoption of foreign goods, integrating them into a framework of traditional survival practices. Kayaks, sleds, and hunting strategies remained rooted in centuries of environmental adaptation. This period illuminates Greenland as a living laboratory of human adaptation. The Thule demonstrate that survival is not merely about technology or ambition, but about observation, intelligence, and respect for nature. They move with the seasons, predict animal migrations, construct homes for maximum insulation, and preserve social cohesion under extreme conditions. In contrast, the Norse illustrate the limitations of rigid traditions in unfamiliar climates, leaving behind ruins that offer lessons in environmental miscalculation. Even daily rituals reinforce survival. Knowledge of wind patterns guides hunting routes. Ice thickness is constantly assessed for safety. Dogs are not only transport animals but sentinels, detecting danger before humans perceive it. Families maintain oral histories that recount both survival successes and failures, linking generations to past experiences. Stories of vanished Norse settlers, for example, serve as cautionary tales about inflexibility and over-reliance on foreign methods. European contact further enriched this dynamic. The whalers documented the Thule's expertise, missionaries recorded detailed ethnographies, and traders engaged in mutually beneficial exchanges. The Thule selectively incorporated tools and techniques without abandoning their core strategies, exemplifying an adaptive intelligence that allowed them to endure where others had failed. By weaving together archaeology, oral history, and environmental observation, historians and scientists reconstruct Greenland's transitional period. The interplay between climate, human adaptation, and cultural continuity becomes vividly apparent. Ice cores, for example, record temperature fluctuations that correlate with settlement patterns, while archaeological sites show how Thule families optimized housing and tools to survive harsh winters. Genetic studies confirm the continuity of Thule populations, linking them to earlier Arctic peoples like the Saqqaq and Dorset, and distinguishing them from the Norse settlers whose lineage did not persist. In essence, Greenland during the Little Ice Age and early European contact period is a story of resilience, adaptation, and cultural continuity. The Thule mastered a harsh environment through observation, collaboration, and innovation. The Norse demonstrate the risks of inflexibility and environmental miscalculation. European explorers, missionaries, and traders illustrate how external actors could only survive and thrive through cooperation with indigenous knowledge systems, from Saqqaq hunters to Thule masters, from abandoned Norse settlements to European explorers navigating ice-laden fjords. Greenland's transitional history is a testament to human intelligence, adaptability, and resilience. By the late 17th century, Greenland was no longer just a land of mystery. European powers, primarily Denmark, Norway, intensified their expeditions, driven by curiosity, commerce, and the lingering fascination with the Norse past. Whalers from the Netherlands, England, and the Basque regions navigated treacherous, ice-choked waters. Mapping coastlines and recording the abundance of marine life, their journals describe icy fjords dotted with seals, walruses, and whales, often observing Thule communities expertly moving across the frozen expanse. Missionaries, however, brought a different lens. Hans Egede Day, arriving in 1721, sought both spiritual conversion and permanent settlement. His meticulous observations went beyond religion. He documented the Thule's hunting techniques, social organizations, seasonal migrations, and daily routines. Egede marveled at how families survived months of darkness and bitter cold, a stark contrast to European experience. In his writings, he repeatedly noted the Thule's intimate understanding of weather, ice, and animal behavior. Trade networks became central to Inuit-European interaction. The Thule exchanged furs, whale products, and ivory for European iron tools, textiles, and provisions. Metal knives replaced bone implements. Copper kettles allowed more efficient water storage. And imported fabrics supplemented traditional furs. Yet the Thule integrated these goods selectively. European tools enhanced efficiency, but did not replace traditional knowledge. Sleds, kayaks, hunting methods, and seasonal mobility remained rooted in centuries of environmental adaptation. European survival, by contrast, depended heavily on Inuit expertise. Harsh winters and unpredictable ice conditions tested settlers, whalers, and missionaries alike. Many relied on Inuit guidance to traverse frozen fjords, hunt effectively, and secure safe shelters. Diaries reveal that failure to respect local knowledge often resulted in disaster, shipwrecks, frostbite, or starvation. This dynamic highlighted a stark truth: ambition and technology alone could not ensure survival in Greenland's extreme environment. Missionary journals provide rich ethnographic insight. Egede described children learning hunting, navigation, and tracking from an early age. Women maintained household operations, processed meat and fish, sewed clothing, and taught survival skills. Social cohesion was critical. Small mobile family units collaborated during hunting trips, shared food, and safeguarded vulnerable members. Rituals marked seasonal transitions, the first seal of autumn, midwinter celebrations, and summer whale migrations. Every activity combined practicality with cultural and spiritual meaning. Archaeological evidence reinforces these observations. Excavated Inuit settlements reveal homes semi-subterranean and insulated with turf and whalebone. Caches for preserved food and tools optimized for multi-purpose use. Norse ruins scattered nearby show a different story: European-style buildings, crop cultivation, and livestock that struggled under Greenland's climate. Analysis of skeletal remains indicates malnutrition and environmental stress among Norse settlers. Talksting with Thule populations whose survival strategies were finely tuned to Arctic conditions. Environmental reconstruction adds another layer to the narrative. Ice cores reveal decades of colder than average temperatures during the Little Ice Age, glaciers advancing into valleys, and sea ice thickening in the fjords. Dendrochronology of driftwood shows shorter growing seasons. These data points explain both the Norse decline and the Thule's continued success. Adaptation, observation, and cultural continuity allowed the Thule to thrive where others failed. European expeditions were not purely exploitative. They also documented Greenland's geography, resources, and inhabitants for future generations. Maps improved in accuracy, noting fjords, settlements, and ice conditions. Whaling logs detailed migration patterns of marine mammals. Missionaries recorded languages, rituals, and social structures. All these accounts, when combined with archaeology and environmental data, paint a vivid picture of Greenland during this transitional period. Trade and cultural exchange created a complex web of interactions. Inuit families selectively incorporated European goods while maintaining traditional practices. Some European settlers learned hunting, ice navigation, and seasonal migration patterns from Inuit guides. Conflicts were rare but occurred, often stemming from misunderstandings about resource use or cultural expectations. Overall, the The period illustrates a symbiotic relationship. Survival in Greenland required cooperation, mutual respect, and adaptation. Genetic studies further illuminate this era. Modern research connects Thule populations to earlier Arctic peoples, including the Saqqaq and Dorset cultures. While distinguishing them from the Norse, DNA evidence confirms continuity, showing that environmental mastery and cultural knowledge persisted over millennia. Archaeology and genetics together demonstrate how human ingenuity can persist and evolve, even under extreme environmental stress. This period also underscores Greenland as a laboratory of human adaptation. Thule families optimized housing, hunting tools, and social structures. Seasonal migrations were carefully timed, ensuring access to critical resources. Oral traditions preserve knowledge of past successes and failures, guiding future generations. Even when Europeans arrived with advanced tools and ambitions, they had to learn from the Thule, emphasizing that survival in Greenland depended on observation, intelligence, and flexibility rather than mere technology. Greenland's story during this transitional period, the Little Ice Age into early European contact, is a profound lesson in human resilience. The Thule mastered the environment, the Norse struggled against it, and Europeans survived only through cooperation and adaptation. From Saqqaq and Dorset ancestors to Thule families, and from Norse settlers to whalers and missionaries. Greenland's history is a tapestry of survival, ingenuity, and cultural continuity. As the icy fjords of Greenland stretch endlessly under the Arctic sun, we can pause to reflect on a story that spans millennia from the earliest Saqqaq hunters to the resilient Thule families, from ambitious Norse settlers to European whalers and missionaries. Greenland's history is not merely a record of people and places. It is a testament to human ingenuity, adaptation, and resilience in the face of one of Earth's most unforgiving environments. Consider the Thule, whose daily lives were a masterclass in survival. Every house built, every seal harpooned, every winter journey undertaken was the result of centuries of observation and accumulated wisdom. Knowledge was not written in books, but encoded in ritual, oral tradition, and practice. Children learned by doing, observing, and participating. Skills passed down carefully, ensuring that each generation could thrive where others failed. Seasonal migrations were timed to perfection, hunting tools were refined for efficiency, and social structures promoted cooperation and collective survival. The Norse settlements, by contrast, illustrate the limits of rigid tradition. Imported crops and livestock struggled to survive in the Little Ice Age climate. Isolation, famine, and environmental miscalculations contributed to their eventual disappearance. Yet even in failure, they left behind traces, stone foundations, churches, and tools which the Thule would encounter and adapt. This continuity underscores an important lesson. Human survival is not guaranteed by ambition or technology alone. It depends on flexibility, observation, and respect for nature's rhythms. European explorers and missionaries arriving in the 17th and 18th centuries faced a similar reality. Whalers navigated ice-choked waters, risking ships and lives for profit. Missionaries sought to convert, document, and settle. Yet they quickly realized that survival required learning from the Inuit. They adopted hunting strategies, ice navigation techniques, and seasonal patterns from the Thule European presence. Therefore, it became a story of adaptation and knowledge exchange, rather than domination. Greenland's environment played a defining role throughout this period. Ice cores, dendrochronology, and environmental reconstructions revealed the relentless challenges of the Little Ice Age. Advancing glaciers, shortened summers, and bitter winters. These conditions shaped every aspect of human life, from architecture to hunting, from mobility to social organization. Archaeology confirms how the Thule optimized these strategies, constructing insulated semi-subterranean homes, maintaining food caches, and designing versatile tools to survive and thrive. Trade networks and cultural exchange further illustrate Greenland's interconnectedness during this transitional period. Metal tools and textiles from Europeans enhanced efficiency, but were selectively incorporated. Knowledge of hunting, navigation, and ice conditions remained central to survival. Oral traditions preserved stories of Norse ruins, seasonal migrations, and past hardships, ensuring that history informed present and future decision-making. This layered history demonstrates profound lessons for humanity. Adaptation over rigidity. The Thule thrived because they adapted. The Norse declined because they imposed inflexible systems. Knowledge transmission is survival. Oral traditions, practical instruction, and observation ensured continuity across generations. Collaboration and mutual respect. European survival often depended on learning from the Inuit, highlighting the power of cooperation. Environmental awareness, observing and respecting natural rhythms, is critical for survival in extreme environments. We believe that Greenland's story offers timeless insights. It is a narrative of resilience, intelligence, and the enduring human spirit. From the Saqqaq hunters who first roamed the ice, to the Dorset cultures and Norse settlers, to the Thule masters and European explorers, every chapter reflects humanity's relationship with the environment, a relationship defined by observation, adaptation, and perseverance. As we close this chapter, imagine the frozen fjords, the howling winds, and the flickering aurora overhead. Imagine families preparing for the hunt, navigating ice-laden waters, and passing down wisdom that has endured for thousands of years. Greenland's story is more than history. It is a living testament to human resilience and ingenuity, reminding us that survival and success are achieved through observation, flexibility, and respect for the world around us. Thank you for journeying with us through this extraordinary Arctic narrative. If you've been captivated by these stories, like this video, subscribe, and tap the bell icon to continue exploring the hidden histories, lost civilizations, and untold tales of human ingenuity in extreme environments. At Thugilan Arc Studio, the adventure continues. Greenland's past, with all its triumphs and trials, awaits further discovery in the stories yet to come.